Yo, what's going on everybody? Today we're going to continue working on the subway and I'm hoping to complete the circuit of track and actually get the trains operational. Before we get started with this video, there's two things that I want to address. I did mention it in the first video, but a lot of people were asking and a lot of people were concerned about how I'm going to access the access points in the Lego City because of course this comes quite low and I can fit under here, but I can't really fit under there, so it is a concern. It is something to be worried about. But I did mention that I made these sections the length of the table legs. So for example, if I remove this section of train track, or eventually when I remove the two modules or mills plates that sit on this particular section, well then I can very easily remove this shelf. And once this shelf is removed, I can then do what I used to do and freely access the Lego City. Another concern, actually I guess there's three, was the height. A lot of people have been telling me that unfortunately I put this too low. These shelves shouldn't be this low on the table legs. I sort of maybe agree with that. Maybe it could have been a little bit higher up, but the reason I wanted to do it low, there's a few reasons, is because that's going to give us more room to create epic stories. Because now I'm going to be able to get in here, build a backdrop, maybe come over top with some cool stuff, have vegetation, and just create like different stories. Maybe not necessarily vegetation, but you know what I mean. It's going to give us more room for play when I go about creating the different modules which are going to sit on here. Also, you got to remember when I put the train on a mills plate, that's going to raise it up a little bit as well. And I think by having it lower, it's going to offer us better visibility. Another reason why I put it this low is because if I want to use a base plate to hide the back, I made it that height so that I can actually wedge a base plate in there and create backdrops with base plates. Because if I just created a unique design on a base plate and put it in there, it's going to be a lot more economical than building it with, say, Lego brick. And I'm going to have I'm going to have the option to do that somewhere around this entire place. So I wanted to have that option. I wanted to be able to fit an entire base plate behind there. Now, the other concern is that, unfortunately, it doesn't make any sense that there's a subway underneath the countryside. That doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense that there's a subway underneath the ocean. However, I have never built a Lego city that is what I'm going to call hyper-realistic. I have not built hyper-realism or integrated hyper-realism into my cities. For example, there's a giant superhero battle over there. I can see Hagrid and Harry flying on Hagrid's motorcycle. There's a whole bunch of things in my city that aren't real, and I just wanted to have the ability to create fun displays that are eye-catching, fun to put together, tell stories, and I wanted to have fun with Lego, just like my entire city. I'm not looking to build a hyper-real city, otherwise things like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Winnie the Pooh and Harry Potter and the Winter Village and all of these fun things wouldn't be in the city. So I'm not too concerned about hyper-realism. Other comments did suggest that I have this train actually go underneath the table and I could free up this space here for building other dioramas that don't have a train passing through them. We do have that option. That's another reason why it's good that I brought this so low, because you can see there's clearance right there for the train to pass through the center of the table if I so choose. So if I wanted to start mounting shelf brackets on, for example, this string of legs going all the way down, we could do that. And there could be a train that could turn off, or a switch track right here, and the train could go through the center of the table, and we would be able to create all sorts of parking and stuff like that. Also, maybe that's where the ramp that brings the trains down could go. For example, if I bring the train line or the shelves underneath in the center, well then I could cut a hole and the track could start going down, and that's going to give us the space required for train grades, because unfortunately trains do not like grades, and that's why to get the train up this high here I have such a long grade. So we could do that in the center as well, which I think is a possibility. I don't think the grade has to be as subtle here because the train up here is constantly running, where if there's a train that's running on the under table scene, I'm not necessarily going to have that constantly running the grade that's going from the top line or the top of the table to the line that's underneath. Does that sort of make sense? It does to me. I don't know if my thought process came through there clearly, but what I was trying to say is I'm not going to have a train that's running up top, going down, going back up top, going back down, going up top. So it's not going to be constantly battling that significant train grade. Trains are either going to be running up top or on the bottom. The only time that I would use the grade is to transport the trains from the lower section to the higher section or the higher section to the lower section. And therefore, the grade doesn't have to be as subtle as that. It could be a little bit more aggressive. And because this gap is so big, it's going to have to be more aggressive. For the most part, I'm probably just going to transport the trains manually from the top line to the bottom line. But we do have the ability to run shelves or whatever, or pieces of wood on any of these table legs underneath the city so we can create anything that we virtually want, and we can put these trains anywhere under the table. It just involves more shelf brackets, more wood, which we have lots of. So yeah, like the possibilities are truly endless. And then if I didn't want the perimeter layout, because I wanted to create more dioramas that didn't involve the trains on this side, well, that's easy. Then we can just reroute the train through the center on one side, and we can create dioramas on this side that don't involve the train. But for now, I want to keep it as the perimeter because I think it's going to be super cool to have all these different scenes and be able to follow the train all the way around 360 degrees. I think that is going to be phenomenal. This is where I need to continue working today. I need to cut these sections of lumber so that we can complete the circuit. I know that was a long intro and I reiterated a lot of the same things that I talked about in the first video, but I got an insane amount of comments in regards to those concerns, so I wanted to address them first and foremost in this video. The first thing I did was cut the 14.5-inch boards all the way along here. So each section was 2 cuts, one at 14.5 and then one to make it the proper length so they span between the legs. So just like the other boards, these ones are removable, sort of modular. And they are deeper. That's because the overhang of the Lego City tabletop on this back end here is a little bit larger, so it pretty much matches up with the overhang of the Lego City tables. And as you can see, it matches up perfectly with this here because I took a little bit off the side as well. I also cleaned up this here, so gave this a small trim just so it matches up. Now there is differences in height and also little gaps. I'm not too worried about that because I'll be able to shim the shelf bracket underneath, and also once I put the Lego on there, you're not really going to see that. Now, as you can imagine, cutting all of this wood, literally the full length of this side, the full length of the other side, the full length of the back, the full length of the front, it created a big mess. There was a lot of sawdust. So once I was done cutting, my top priority was to clean up everything, get everything up off the ground, vacuum myself, and then of course, fire up the robotic vacuum as well. And it's currently doing a great job of cleaning up underneath the Lego City tables. So now that I have all the shelving installed around the entire perimeter of the Lego City, it's time to start the fun part and unleash all the train track. There's all the curves that I have. And up here, we've got bags full of straight. I ordered these during double points, knowing that I was going to take on the subway project. Shoot, you know what? I forgot about something. That's all the drooping wood here. That was another concern that I forgot to address at the beginning of this video. My plan is to get 1x4s, like that's really small lumber that's pretty rigid, and just screw it into the bottom of the long sections that span from leg to leg. Because as you can see, it's drooping and it's a little bit wobbly. But I think if I run a 1x4 underneath, it's going to reinforce it. in order to do that, I've got to go back to Home Depot and I've got to buy all the right lengths, chop them with my chop saw or my miter saw, and then screw them in. Not a hard process, but it should probably come before installing a train track. But I sort of want to get the trains going. So first things first, I've got to vacuum the surface because you can actually see all the sawdust on the shelves. And then once it's all clean, I can start installing the track. How many tracks do you think go around this circuit? 250 pieces of track. So that is a combination of the curves and also the straights. That doesn't include all of the specialty stuff that I want to do because of course we're going to include switch tracks and have spots for train parking. And if I decide to run the track throughout the center, well, there's going to be more track involved. But I did order all that track during double points, so that was pretty clever. And I've just had it sort of stashed away for this project here. Vacuum these shelves as well and then start laying the track, and all we have to do is connect it. Pretty exciting stuff because pretty soon that train is going to be fully operational. But you can see what I mean about the droop there. Some of the shelves are drooping, but we are going to fix that later on in this video. But first, let's get this train fired up, specifically the yellow and blue high-speed passenger train. My buddy Sting's Bricks came by and helped me out, so thank you once again. I appreciate it, man. There you go. Look at that train. It's just buzzing around along with the vacuum. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, pretty exciting. This is amazing. I'm so happy that it's operational today. Woohoo! It felt really good to get the train going. That was amazing. I went to the hardware store. I didn't buy 1x4 lumber, but we actually bought 2x2 lumber because 2x2 lumber is square. So that means it's not going to bend as easily. Whereas if you put lumber that's like a 2x4 or a 1x4 underneath and you put the large side of it, it's just going to eventually bow just like these did here. But it's all been cut and installed. So if I remove this section of train track here, slide it down. Now I can very easily remove this by just grabbing the lumber which is underneath, and it's sort of like a handle. So I can go up and out. And what I'm going to end up doing actually is the smaller sections between the larger sections. So there's 3 large sections, and then there's the 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller sections. I'm just going to screw these pieces down to their brackets because the brackets, they have little screw holes on the bottom. So I'm just going to put some mini screws through, and that's going to hold the smaller sections in place. So then I don't risk the epic failure of accidentally knocking this shelf off when I'm removing these sections to scoot through. But it's pretty awesome. You can see the 2x2 on the bottom. And it's just tacked down by 5 screws. It's inset on either side by 2 inches, making space for the brackets. And it's also in the center of the shelf. And pretty easy just to reinstall. But once again, I've got to be a little bit cautious that I don't bump the other shelf off. So I think it's going to be best to secure those small shelves in place. It's also going to provide them with a little bit more rigidity, but there's no sense in running the 2x2 lumber underneath the small shelves because it's such a small span. Don't really have to worry about it bowing. But if it does start to bow, well, we know what the solution is. 2x2 lumber. So here we go. I've got the upper line going here. Away it goes around the Lego City. Farewell. We'll see you around the bend. And then down here on the switch track that we installed, and we still have leftover track, which is great, we can fire up the blue and yellow passenger train. And away it goes. This is a double long blue and yellow passenger train. I bought 2 of them, put them end to end. Technically, we could fit 2 lines under here side by side. Like there is enough space to have the curve go around the corner. And we could technically put switches on the entire thing, technically. So I like the fact that there's enough space to do that. And you can see what I mean about the visibility. Now you can really see it there. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of parts, and a lot of time to create the modules. Here's a cool shot, though. The modules to mills plate all of the white shelving that you see there, and also to conceal the tables underneath, or like the open space behind. But eventually I want it to be all done, and I think I can't really classify it as a subway. A lot of people called me out and said, this isn't a subway, you're just going to be building different scenes. It doesn't really make sense that it's going around the entire perimeter. It doesn't make sense that it's going through the countryside. That's not a subway, it's not a subway, it's not a subway. You know, I'm just trying to eat fresh here. Just kidding. But I just want to, you know, build unique scenes and stuff, and just have fun with Lego, with storytelling and minifigures and different scenes throughout the entire sections that we have here. It just offers us so much ability to do whatever we want with Lego, which is so cool. And as mentioned near the beginning of the video there, of course, we can run it through the center, and we could, you know, take the track away on either side, and we could build different scenes down here, whether it be like underground working or mining or whatever it may be, or we can just have the train run through it all. The possibilities are truly endless, which is pretty exciting. But what I was looking forward to, and I'm having fun doing right now, is just following the trains around the entire layout. Like, I just think that's so cool. It offers a lot of motion. It's just a different aspect. Also, if it was a little bit higher up, right here, you wouldn't really see it because like I'm right against the wall right now. So I think having it lower down just once again offers us a little bit more visibility. So that really works out. Pretty amazing stuff, hey? We got the subway operational today. I'm gonna call it a subway, or the underground train, I guess. Pretty neat. Also, something that I need to do is have stations down there, and I need to have correlating stations up top. So we need to have subway access up top. So we'll figure all that out in future Lego City updates, but I just wanted to get the structure done so that we could actually get this thing operating here in the city. And it took a couple days to do, but there we have it, everybody. It's gonna be pretty epic. I can't wait to get these mountains built for the winter village, the amusement park, the countryside, and then we can have these trains running underneath the mountain as well. And then I could also get the amusement park line going with the Hogwarts Express and also the Disney train. So we could get that going right now, technically. And also maybe we will do that cutout in the center so that we can have the trains go from like the ground level to the underground level. Epic. So excited about this project. It is amazing. It definitely puts a smile on my face. It's pretty cool. I love seeing this motion here. The train's just buzzing around the Lego City. Everybody, thank you so much for coming on by. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the near future. Farewell.